If you're over 60, there's a sweet, juicy habit that may silently increase your stroke risk overnight, without warning, without symptoms, and without pain. You go to bed feeling fine, and by morning, your speech is slurred. Your balance is gone. One side of your body simply doesn't move. As a neurologist, I've witnessed many older adults suffer strokes they never expected, not from smoking, fast food, or lack of exercise, but from something they believed was healthy: fruit. Yes, fruit. Every day, millions of older adults eat fruit thinking it's good for the heart, brain, and digestion. And while many fruits do support healthy aging, others, especially when consumed at the wrong time or in the wrong amounts, can do real harm. They spike your blood sugar, dehydrate your brain, or dangerously interact with medications. And the scariest part, no one ever tells you. Today, I'll show you 9 common fruits that may be raising your risk of stroke, memory loss, or even brain hemorrhage, especially if you're over 60. Have you ever wondered if your healthy habits could actually be hurting you? If so, you need to hear this, and I promise it could save your life. Before we begin, if you haven't yet subscribed, I recommend hitting that button and turning on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. And if you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to help me improve the content. 1. Bananas, too much potassium, too quickly. As a neurologist, I've seen countless unexpected strokes, but few things disturb me more than seemingly innocent habits that quietly lead to disaster. And believe it or not, bananas are one of those hidden dangers. You've probably heard it your whole life. Bananas are the perfect snack. Soft, easy to digest, packed with potassium, and even labeled as heart healthy. And for adults in their 30s or 40s, that may be true, but after age 60, everything changes, especially how your kidneys, blood vessels, and heart manage sudden mineral shifts like potassium. Let me explain clearly. As we age, our kidneys naturally slow down. They don't filter as efficiently, especially if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or take common meds like acid reducers or diuretics, water pills. That means the potassium in bananas, often over 450 milligrams per large banana, can start to build up in your bloodstream. And then what? Your heart rhythm falters. Your blood vessels constrict. Worst of all, clots can form in places where blood should flow freely. In the brain, this kind of clot can shut things down in seconds. I'll never forget one of my patients, Mr. Raymond, age 66, a retired carpenter from Ohio. He was active, sharp-minded, proud of eating healthy. Every morning he sliced a banana onto his oatmeal and took his blood pressure meds with a glass of orange juice. It was a routine he'd followed for over a year, but one morning his wife found him collapsed in the bathroom. He couldn't move the left side of his body. His speech was slurred. At the hospital, tests revealed a small but devastating stroke. His potassium levels were dangerously high, interfering with his heart rhythm and triggering clots overnight. He had no idea that 2 bananas a day, combined with his medication, were pushing his body into dangerous territory. Here's the part most older adults never hear. You don't need that much potassium, not from supplements, not from multiple servings of fruit, especially not all at once. If you're over 60 and on heart or blood pressure medication, limit yourself to half a banana per day, eaten in the morning, and always with protein like Greek yogurt or a few nuts to slow down absorption. Avoid banana smoothies, banana bread, and especially bananas at night. And most importantly, talk to your doctor, like Dr. Herald, about how potassium-rich foods interact with your medications. Your life may depend on it. Because what used to be healthy may no longer be safe, not without understanding the full picture. And if bananas surprised you, wait until you hear what grapes, yes, those sweet little grapes, are doing to your blood sugar, brain vessels, and silent inflammation risk. What I'm about to share may change the way you snack forever. 2. Grapes, a sugar bomb in a tiny package. Grapes, sweet, juicy, refreshing. A snack that seems as innocent as a spring breeze, always present on fruit platters tossed into cereal bowls or served after Sunday lunch with the grandkids. But what if I told you that for someone over 60, especially with hidden vascular issues or unstable blood sugar, grapes could be a silent stroke trigger? It's easy to forget that grapes are concentrated sugar wrapped in delicate skin. Each little grape might not look threatening, but eating just a handful, especially of the extra sweet seedless varieties so common in American grocery stores, can send a rush of glucose and fructose straight into your bloodstream. And for aging brains and blood vessels, that spike comes at a high cost. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at managing blood sugar. Insulin response slows down, blood vessels become more fragile. And when sugar rises fast, it's not just the pancreas that suffers. It causes inflammation along the delicate artery walls, including those that feed the brain. As those arteries inflame, they start to stiffen and narrow. Over time, microscopic cracks can form in the lining of the vessels, and that's when clots begin to develop. You may not feel it. It won't show up in your routine exam, but inside, your body may be quietly laying the groundwork for a silent stroke. Let me tell you about Jeanette Moraes, age 80, a retired school teacher from Missouri. She prided herself on living naturally, no sodas, no processed foods, always fresh fruit. Her mid-morning snack, a generous bowl of red grapes. She'd munch on them while reading the paper or watching the news. Sometimes she'd eat nearly 2 cups without a second thought. One day, she noticed her vision blurring while writing a birthday card. Moments later, her hand trembled and she couldn't remember how to spell congratulations. Her daughter rushed her to the hospital, fearing a stroke. And it was. A transient ischemic attack, a mini-stroke caused by a clot briefly blocking blood flow to the left side of her brain. Her tests revealed sharp sugar spikes around midday, and her A1C, a long-term blood sugar marker, had crept into the pre-diabetic range. But the most revealing sign, chronic low-grade inflammation in her vascular system, likely worsened by years of eating overly sweet fruits, without fiber or protein to balance them. Here's what I need you to understand. Even healthy foods can become dangerous without the right context. When you're over 60, when you eat, and what you eat with matters just as much as the food itself. Grapes digest quickly. They send sugar surging through your veins, and if you eat them alone, especially when you're dehydrated or under stress, your body enters a state where blood thickens, vessels constrict, and clotting becomes more likely. You won't notice that day, but night after night, week after week, it builds, until one day, something breaks. So now I tell my older patients, never eat grapes on an empty stomach, never in large amounts. Pair them with protein, a few almonds, a slice of cheese, and keep portions to a small handful, preferably during active hours of the day when your body can burn that sugar. And if you're diabetic or on blood pressure meds, avoid them entirely unless your doctor, like Dr. Herald, gives the green light. Because what seems like a harmless snack can, over time, steal your balance, your memory, even your independence. 3. Pineapple, a mix of acid and sugar. There's something about pineapple that feels like a bite of sunshine, sweet, tangy, tropical. Many of my older patients enjoy it as a guilt-free treat after dinner, thinking it's light, natural, and full of enzymes that aid digestion. But what most older adults don't realize, and what deeply concerns me as a neurologist, is how this fruit, when eaten at the wrong time or in the wrong condition, can silently raise stroke risk, especially overnight. Pineapple contains bromelain, a natural enzyme that helps break down proteins in the body. In small amounts, it can aid digestion, but in excess, especially when mixed with certain medications, it can interfere with blood clotting, reduce platelet function, and lead to unpredictable bleeding or clot formation. For someone over 60 with naturally thinner blood vessels and slower metabolism, this imbalance can have serious consequences. And don't forget the sugar. A single cup of pineapple contains over 16 grams of natural sugar, causing a rapid spike in blood glucose. Unlike apples or berries, pineapple has a high glycemic index. It floods the blood with sugar quickly, and if eaten late in the day, this spike isn't used for energy. It just circulates, stressing your blood vessels as you sleep. But the most overlooked threat? The acid. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits in the American diet. It can irritate the esophagus, trigger silent reflux, and in some older adults, that reflux occurs without the typical burning sensation. Instead, it causes microaspirations and nighttime airway pressure changes, factors that have been linked to reduced oxygen flow to the brain during sleep and increased risk of early morning strokes. The most lethal kind. One patient I treated, Clara Hughes, age 77, a retired choir director from North Carolina, was sharp, active, and devoted to eating well. She avoided processed sweets and swapped her desserts for a few slices of fresh pineapple after dinner. For over a year, this was her nightly ritual. Then one morning she woke up confused, disoriented. Her daughter noticed slurred speech and poor balance. A brain scan revealed she had suffered a small posterior circulation stroke, impacting her balance and speech. Her labs showed elevated blood sugar, signs of nighttime reflux irritation, and platelet irregularities. The culprit? Not a single cause, but a perfect storm. Nightly pineapple, acid, sugar spikes, and the effects of bromelain on blood clotting. A fruit she thought was helping her had nearly stolen her independence. Clara's story isn't rare. In older adults, digestion slows, vessel walls thin, and sleep becomes more fragile. Combine that with acidic, high-sugar fruit late at night, and the risk of vascular constriction rises, right when the brain is most vulnerable. And yes, under the right conditions, clots can silently form, setting the stage for a stroke while you sleep. So what's the takeaway? If you love pineapple, enjoy it early in the day, in small amounts, and never on an empty stomach. Don't combine it with blood thinners unless approved by a doctor like Dr. Herald. And above all, don't eat it before bed. Your brain needs stability at night, not surprises. Because at this stage of life, even a fruit can tip the scales. 4. Watermelon, not always hydrating. Few fruits are more beloved during the American summer than watermelon. Cold slices on the 4th of July, seed-spitting contests with the grandkids, that sweet, crisp refreshment after a hot afternoon in the garden. It seems harmless, maybe even healthy. And yes, it's full of water. But for older adults, especially those with hidden heart conditions or on certain medications, watermelon can quietly throw the body off balance. Not because of sugar or acid, but because of what it pulls out of your system. Watermelon acts as a diuretic. It makes you urinate more. That's fine for a 25-year-old, but for a 75-year-old with delicate circulation, borderline low blood pressure, or taking diuretics or acid-reducing meds, this extra urination can lead to nighttime dehydration, one of the most dangerous silent stroke triggers. Why? Because when the body is dehydrated, blood thickens. Think of syrup moving slowly through narrow tubes. Thick blood moves sluggishly, giving clots more time to form, especially in arteries already stiffened with age. The brain, sensitive to oxygen changes, becomes even more vulnerable when flow slows or halts. And this is especially true at night, when natural circulation decreases and pressure drops. Let me tell you about Mr. Howard Larkin, age 82, a retired mailman from Indiana. He did everything he thought was right. Daily walks, no processed sugar, only whole foods. One habit he loved? Eating 2 or 3 large slices of watermelon after dinner. It helped him cool off and stay hydrated. But he didn't realize he was also taking a prescribed diuretic for mild heart failure. Between the medication and the watermelon's natural diuretic effect, his body lost too much fluid overnight. One morning, Howard woke with severe dizziness. When he tried to stand, he collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously low, and tests showed concentrated hemoglobin, a marker of thick blood from dehydration. Imaging confirmed a small ischemic stroke, likely caused by a clot forming in narrowed arteries while he slept. His watermelon habit, meant to hydrate him, was actually drying him out. The stroke affected his balance and coordination. Though he survived, he now walks with a cane and needs help with daily tasks. Just a week earlier, he was mowing his own lawn. 5. Oranges, citrus interactions. Oranges have been a symbol of health in American homes for decades. A glass of fresh orange juice at breakfast, a bowl of orange slices on the kitchen table, or the classic orange tucked into a Christmas stocking. They've long been seen as nature's vitamin C miracle. But for older adults, especially those on heart or blood pressure medications, this vibrant fruit can become something else entirely. A silent chemical cocktail that triggers dangerous reactions inside the body, including the kind that lead to clots and strokes. And the problem isn't just sugar. Although one large orange or a glass of juice can spike your blood sugar, there's another compound in citrus fruits that few older adults have even heard of. It's called furanocoumarin. Furanocoumarins interfere with how the liver breaks down certain medications, especially statins, calcium channel blockers, and blood thinners. That means, instead of your body processing the drug gradually and safely, it can either build up too much, making it toxic, or get flushed out too fast, making it useless. This interaction can be fatal, not instantly but slowly, silently, creating conditions where your blood becomes unstable, your arteries constrict unpredictably, and clots begin to form with no warning. As a neurologist, I've seen the results of mixing healthy fruits with powerful meds. One such case, Mr. Elmer Bryant, 79 years old, a retired bus driver from Georgia, kind man, gentle smile. He took atorvastatin for high cholesterol and lisinopril for blood pressure. He also prided himself on living naturally. Every morning he started his day with a tall glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, his sunshine in a glass, as he called it. But what Elmer didn't know was that the furanocoumarin in that juice was stopping his liver from processing his medications. His blood pressure pills were building up in his system, intensifying their effect. At the same time, the statin was accumulating in his muscles and bloodstream, increasing inflammation and damaging his vessels. One morning, after several days of mild dizziness, Elmer stood up from his recliner and collapsed. He arrived at the ER with slurred speech and confusion. A CT scan revealed a mild ischemic stroke. His blood work showed dangerously high levels of both medications, not from overdose, but because his liver couldn't clear them. The orange juice had blocked his system, his blood had become unpredictable. And yes, a clot had formed and lodged in a narrow brain artery. When I explained this to Elmer and his wife, they were stunned. "All my life I thought orange juice was good for me," he said. And it once was, but the aging body is different. What worked at 40 doesn't always work at 70 or 80, especially when medications are involved. That's why I caution patients, grapefruit, Seville oranges, and even regular oranges, when consumed frequently, must be approached with care in medicated seniors. The liver slows with age, and the risk of food-drug interactions rises. If you're over 60, enjoy citrus in moderation. And never take medications with orange juice unless cleared by a doctor like Dr. Herald. Safer choices? Clementines or a splash of lemon in your water. And if you're prescribed any heart, cholesterol, or blood pressure meds, always ask your doctor if citrus could interfere. Because the truth is, it's not just what's in your medicine cabinet that matters, it's what's in your fruit bowl. A simple, well-meaning habit, repeated daily, can become the invisible hand pushing your brain toward catastrophe. 6. Apples, the surprise sugar trap. Apples, the symbol of American health, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. You've heard it all your life. Crisp, juicy, easy to eat. Apples are handed out in hospitals, included in senior meal programs, and lovingly given by grandkids, hoping you'll stay well. But for seniors, especially those over 60 who deal with high blood pressure, diabetes, or cognitive changes, apples may not be as innocent as they seem. In fact, the wrong kind of apple, eaten the wrong way, can silently raise your stroke risk by destabilizing blood sugar and vascular health in dangerous ways. Here's why. Not all apples are the same. While they do contain fiber and nutrients, many popular American varieties like Fuji, Honeycrisp, and Gala were bred for sweetness, not nutrition. These apples have a high glycemic index. That means they flood your bloodstream with natural sugars faster than your aging system can handle. And if you eat them alone, without protein or healthy fats to slow digestion, they cause a sharp blood sugar spike, followed by a crash. This roller coaster does more than sap your energy. It affects your blood pressure, vascular inflammation, and blood thickness. When sugar surges, blood becomes more acidic and sticky. Insulin levels spike. Blood vessels contract. Repeated over time, this pattern damages the delicate lining of arteries, including those leading to the brain. Microtears can form, and your body responds by forming clots to repair them. In younger adults, the system bounces back, but in older adults, with narrower, stiffer vessels, those clots can become silent stroke triggers. One of my patients, Sarah Louise Hammond, 81, from Pennsylvania, had been healthy most of her life. She walked daily, took her medications as prescribed, and followed what she thought was a smart diet. Every afternoon, she ate a large Honeycrisp apple as a snack. No chips, no cookies, just fruit. But she didn't know she had insulin resistance, and those daily sugar spikes were stressing her aging vessels. Over time, she noticed blurred vision at night and occasional pressure in her head when standing. One evening, while preparing dinner, she suddenly lost the ability to speak clearly. Her daughter rushed her to the ER, where a mild stroke was confirmed. Her labs showed unstable glucose patterns and signs of endothelial inflammation. While her medications were doing their job, the silent sugar spikes were setting her up for vascular damage. Yes, a clot had formed, likely during one of those sudden spikes. Louise recovered, but she now sees apples differently, not as enemies, but as something to approach with care. Here's what I tell all my senior patients. If you love apples, choose wisely. Granny Smith apples are lower in sugar and higher in brain-protective polyphenols. Always eat apples with a protein or fat, like almond butter or a slice of cheese, to reduce the glycemic impact. And never eat a sweet apple on an empty stomach, especially at night. Your brain needs steady fuel, not sugar roller coasters. Because even something as wholesome as an apple can quietly set the stage for a stroke. When your sugar swings, your vessels contract and clots begin forming silently until one day they don't stay silent. 7. Cherries, the hidden source of salicylates. Cherries, small, beautiful, colorful, celebrated as one of the healthiest fruits in the American diet. Doctors recommend them for inflammation, arthritis, even heart health. You see them in wellness magazines, organic markets, and tossed into yogurts and salads. But behind the sweet flavor and glowing reputation, cherries hide a lesser-known risk, especially for older adults already on blood thinners or medications that affect clotting. The danger lies in a natural compound called salicylates, a substance that thins the blood, acting much like aspirin. Now, in moderation, this might help. But for seniors already taking medications like warfarin, Plavix, or daily aspirin, adding more salicylates through food can push the body too far. The result? Blood too thin to clot, fragile vessels that leak, and in the worst cases, hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding inside the brain. Most people never link this to fruit. It sounds extreme, but I've seen it. Mr. Daniel Rhodes, 84th, retired machinist from Illinois. Years ago, he had a minor heart attack and was prescribed a daily low-dose aspirin, also took a statin and blood pressure meds. Every night, he ended his dinner with a small bowl of cherries, his nature's dessert, as he called it. He had read they were good for inflammation and wanted to stay active for his great-grandkids. At first, no sign of trouble. But after a few weeks, Daniel began experiencing headaches, occasional dizziness, and nausea. One morning, he woke up confused and vomiting. His wife rushed him to the ER. A CT scan revealed something frightening: a brain bleed, a hemorrhagic stroke, not from high blood pressure, not from trauma, but because his blood had become too thin to clot and a small brain vessel had ruptured. The doctors reviewed his medication. Dosages were correct, vitals stable. But when we looked at his diet, the picture became clear. The added salicylates from cherries on top of his meds had created a perfect storm. That's what makes it so dangerous. The effects are subtle, gradual. You feel fine until you don't. And when bleeding starts in the brain, it's hard to stop. Recovery is uncertain. Some lose speech, others lose mobility. Many never regain full independence. Here's what I want more seniors to understand. Even natural foods can interact with your meds. Your body at 70 or 80 doesn't process things like it did at 40. A fruit that helps a younger person recover from pain can, in someone on blood thinners, lead to collapse. If you love cherries, eat them mindfully. A few now and then are likely safe, but avoid concentrates, juices, or large daily servings, especially if you take clotting-related medications. And always speak with your doctor, like Dr. Herald, before making something a regular part of your diet, especially something as medicinal as this sweet little fruit, because what looks harmless can become serious inside an aging body that's already working hard to stay balanced. When blood becomes too thin, it doesn't just leak, it rushes and leaves damage behind. 8. Strawberries, mold, pesticides, and gout triggers. They look innocent, red, heart-shaped, sweet, with just the right touch of tart. Strawberries are the image of health. You see them in hospital fruit trays, blended into brain health smoothies, served at retirement community brunches across the US. But for older adults, the truth about strawberries is far less sweet. In fact, this popular fruit may be silently increasing your risk of stroke, inflammation, and long-term brain toxicity in ways you've never been warned about. Let's start with what most people don't know. Strawberries are among the most heavily sprayed fruits in American agriculture. Year after year, they top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list, the foods with the highest pesticide residues even after washing. And for older adults whose detoxification systems slow with age, these chemicals don't flush out easily. They build up in tissues, including the brain, where they can disrupt neurological function and weaken blood vessels from the inside out. Pesticides aren't just surface irritants. Many of the ones used on conventionally grown strawberries are neurotoxic, meaning they damage brain cells and increase oxidative stress in aging neurons. Over time, this weakens the structural integrity of small vessels, particularly in the brain's white matter, the areas most vulnerable to stroke, memory loss, and cognitive decline. And once that damage begins, the body responds with inflammation and clot formation, raising the risk of ischemic events. But the risk doesn't stop at pesticides. Strawberries also contain purines, natural compounds that break down into uric acid in the body. For those with a history of gout, kidney problems, or vascular inflammation, which includes a large portion of seniors, high uric acid can trigger flare-ups that narrow blood vessels, raise blood pressure, and once again, form clots. One of my patients, Elaine Carter, 80, from Michigan, loved strawberries. She picked fresh ones every June, froze them for winter smoothies, and ate a handful after dinner because they were healthy. She had mild hypertension, took a diuretic, and occasionally experienced joint pain. Over time, she began feeling lightheaded in the mornings, and the swelling in her joints never fully subsided. Then one morning, she woke with numbness in her right hand and slurred speech. A scan confirmed a mild stroke. Blood work showed elevated uric acid and signs of low-grade inflammation. It had been a slow process, years of pesticide exposure and purine buildup. Her strawberry habit, meant to protect her, had become a subtle daily dose of risk. And yes, a clot had formed, one her aging body could no longer dissolve in time. Elaine survived, but she now lives with mild memory lapses and nerve sensitivity in her hand. She cried as she told me, "I thought I was doing everything right." It reminded me just how important context is in aging nutrition. Even superfoods can become harmful in the wrong body, at the wrong time, under the wrong conditions. So what should you do if you eat strawberries? Make sure they're organic. Wash them thoroughly. Don't eat them every day, and don't rely on them as your main antioxidant source. If you have gout, kidney issues, or are on blood pressure meds, consult your doctor, like Dr. Herald, before including them regularly. Be cautious with frozen strawberries too, especially in pre-made smoothies. Many come from massive overseas batches with minimal regulation, because what you don't know can hurt you, slowly, silently, until one day a clot steals your words, your balance, or your independence. 9. Mango, sugar spikes, and medication interference. For many older adults, mango feels like a tropical treat, a reward for doing something right. It's soft, fragrant, naturally sweet. You find it in fruit salads, smoothies, senior cafes, or dried and packaged as a healthy snack. That bright orange flesh looks like nature's dessert, and that's exactly how it's marketed. But for seniors, especially those managing heart problems, blood pressure, or multiple medications, mango can be a silent saboteur, increasing stroke risk in ways most doctors don't talk about. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Mango is one of the highest sugar fruits in the American diet. 1 cup of ripe mango contains nearly 45 grams of natural sugar, more than a typical donut. Unlike complex carbs, mango sugar absorbs fast, leading to sudden spikes in blood glucose, insulin surges, and sharp drops. For seniors with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, or unstable blood pressure, this blood sugar roller coaster stresses the entire vascular system, especially in the brain. As sugar spikes, the body reacts with inflammation. Arteries constrict. Circulation slows. In the brain's delicate vessels, that inflammation can cause microscopic cracks in the lining. When that happens, the body switches to repair mode, forming clots to seal the damage. It's a natural defense mechanism, but in vessels that are already narrow or stiff, it can be the first step toward a stroke. And there's more. Mango doesn't just spike sugar. It contains natural compounds that interfere with how your liver metabolizes medications, especially those for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure. One of these compounds, mangiferin, has been shown to slow the liver's cytochrome P450 system, the system that processes most prescription drugs. When that system slows, medications build up in your body. raising your risk of overdose, side effects, or dangerous interactions. If you take drugs like amlodipine, metoprolol, or common statins, this can cause sudden blood pressure drops or heart rhythm changes without warning. Take Mr. William Booker, age 83, a retired firefighter from Nevada. He stayed active, walked every day, ate well. To avoid cookies, he began eating dried mango every afternoon, thinking it was a smarter snack. He was also taking meds for high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. After a few weeks, William noticed morning dizziness. Then one day, he collapsed while getting out of bed. His wife found him pale, confused, and with slight facial drooping. At the hospital, scans confirmed a mild ischemic stroke. His blood pressure had dropped too low during the night. His medication levels were abnormally high, despite correct dosing. Dr. Herald and I reviewed everything. The culprit? The daily dried mango had overwhelmed his liver, interfering with how it processed his meds. The sugar spikes added to the problem, creating the perfect environment for clot formation. William survived, but the stroke affected his coordination and short-term memory. Now, he lives with daily reminders of how something natural nearly took everything away. That's why I urge seniors to rethink tropical fruits like mango. The sweetness hides real danger. It's not just about sugar. It's about how it interacts with the aging body, slower metabolism, and the complex web of medications many seniors rely on. Even a few slices, especially dried, can throw your system off balance. What's the safe approach? If you truly love mango, eat it in very small portions, just a few bites, and only during the day. Never before bed. Always pair it with protein or healthy fat to blunt the sugar spike. And if you're on any prescription medications, especially for the heart, cholesterol, or blood pressure, consult your doctor before adding mango to your diet. Because in your later years, your margin for error shrinks. What your body handled at 30 or 40 may now have serious consequences, even from a fruit. After learning about the 9 fruits that seem healthy, even harmless, but silently raise your risk of stroke, you might feel confused, maybe even betrayed. You've been told all your life that fruit is nature's medicine, a gift from the earth, something you could always trust. But the truth, especially if you're over 60, is more complex and far more important to understand. Aging changes everything. The foods you ate in your 30s or 40s no longer land the same way. Your kidneys filter more slowly, your liver processes medications less efficiently, your blood vessels grow fragile, less flexible, and your brain, the most delicate organ of all, becomes increasingly sensitive to changes in pressure, blood sugar, and clotting factors. Which means this: every bite matters more now than ever before. Many older adults, with the best intentions, build daily routines that quietly put their brains at risk. A banana with medication, a bowl of grapes as a snack, pineapple after dinner, a glass of orange juice in the morning. Habits so familiar, so common, they raise no alarms. But beneath the surface, they can trigger a cascade of silent, invisible shifts: inflammation, arterial stiffening, too thin or too thick blood, and in the worst cases, clots that block oxygen to the brain. As a neurologist, I've seen the results firsthand. Patients who woke up feeling fine and ended the day in the ICU, people who lost their speech, their ability to walk, their memory of loved ones, all because of a clot no bigger than a grain of rice, lodged in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's heartbreaking, and what's worse is that many of these strokes were preventable, not with more pills, but with more awareness of how food and age interact. But here's the good news: not all fruit is dangerous. In fact, some fruits, when chosen wisely and eaten with care, can become powerful allies for protecting your brain, your heart, and your independence. So what should you reach for? First, berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. low in sugar, rich in antioxidants and brain-protective polyphenols. They don't spike blood sugar, don't interfere with medications, and naturally support memory and circulation. Second, green apples, like Granny Smith. Unlike their sweeter cousins, they have lower glycemic impact and contain flavonoids that shield the brain. When eaten with a small piece of cheese or almond butter, they deliver steady energy without spikes. Third, avocados. Yes, technically a fruit. Often forgotten as such, they're loaded with healthy fats that help regulate blood pressure and support nerve function. They do contain potassium, but in a form your body absorbs slowly, without the sharp spikes of sweeter fruits. Fourth, lemons and limes. Not as snacks, but as flavor boosters. They support liver detoxification and digestion without adding sugar or interacting with most medications. A squeeze in your water can gently wake up your system and hydrate you safely. Fifth, pomegranates, but in small doses. The juice is potent, so dilute it and limit to just a few ounces. Their antioxidant power can be helpful, but only when used carefully, especially if you take blood pressure or heart medications. And above all, timing matters. Eat fruit earlier in the day, never on an empty stomach. Always combine with protein or healthy fat to slow absorption and reduce sugar spikes or blood pressure drops. Never eat fruit before bed. Your body is slowing down. Circulation is at its lowest. A sugar or acid surge at that hour can throw everything off, and you may not feel the damage until it's too late. Let me be clear. This isn't about fear. It's about respect. Respect for your age, for your body, and for the silent signals it's sending you. You are not fragile, but you are different. That doesn't mean you must stop enjoying life's sweetness. It means you should enjoy it with wisdom, with knowledge, with the dignity of a life well lived. You've made it this far through perseverance, awareness, and care. Don't let a simple habit or a fruit you never thought twice about become the silent thief of your health. Every choice, yes, even a snack, can move you closer to vitality or to risk. Read your labels, ask your doctors, think about what's on your plate and what it might be doing inside your body, not just today, but weeks or months from now. Because the truth is, you're not just eating to live anymore, you're eating to stay sharp, stay upright, stay yourself. And with the right knowledge, the right fruits, and the right timing, yes, you can stay wise, stay clear, stay strong, and always remember, your brain listens to everything you give it. Feed it the future you deserve. These lessons are here to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned that you plan to apply in your life. Let's support each other on this journey of embracing these truths. If you found this video helpful, leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment 0. Your feedback means everything to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Quotation Curation for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.